All right, this is for Dmitriy Maksimenko, and if I pronounce that wrong, I'm sorry. Okay, so looking at your stuff here, the first thing that I would say right off the bat is that it's very confusing on what's going on. And the reason it's confusing on what's going on is a couple different reasons. So the first thing that I see right off the bat is that the dragon is pointing me off the composition. It's pointing me away. The darkness over here is wanting me to negate this area and focus more on the dragon, which is fine, but then the dragon pushes me over. You've got several light spots, and the light spots are the dragon, the egg, the water, and then the streak here, and then like this back here. So you're pushing my focal area all over the place, um, and that's kind of an issue as well. Your perspective is off because if you look at these towers, this tower is this big, and this tower is this big. So when I do a perspective on here, going something like this, my perspective lines up kind of up off the corner here, and then that basically means that everything else is kind of odd. It's basically pushed different because what that would mean is your perspective is up here. I would see more vertical space on the ground, and then on top of this one is just kind of awkward and weird. It's out there and it's not fitting the perspective of your scene. Okay, and so looking at this, the other thing too is this wing is, and I'm starting to get marked up here, so I'll start a new one. This wing here doesn't feel like it's planted. It actually feels like it's coming off the side of his body like this. So you have a lot of technical issues with this as a whole. So how would you fix it? The first thing that I would tell you to do is let's start by narrowing down some of these elements. Find out what your focal is. So if my focal is the dragon, then let's focus on the dragon. So I'm just going to, actually, let's do something like this. And I'm going to really quickly here cut out the dragon. And we'll take the egg with it, and we'll take the little hump. I'll just grab this little sword here. Okay, so your focal area is the dragon, but you've got all these spires in there too as a focal area. And what I would say to do is from a focal area, the dragon could easily be enlarged to make it look more interesting. And just about done here. I just want to kind of rough out without grabbing too much of this. Actually, I'll just do this. And there we go. And then let me just subtract some of this stuff here. So add that in there. Subtract that little guy. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this out of the first one. The second thing I'm going to do is let's grab these spires here, and I'm just going to grab one of them and pull them out. Let's start that over. So I'm going to grab one of these spires and pull that out. And I'm going to use that spire as a relationship marker for the rest of the scene. All right. And so I'm just grabbing something like this, and I'm gonna cut that out. And that's really the only two markers that I'm gonna take out, and we're gonna change the composition a little bit. So you have the river in there, which is pointing this guy in there. So I'm gonna take this guy, and we're gonna transform him horizontal, and we're going to kind of do something like this. And with that in place, I'm just going to grab in some of this here, and we're just going to go fuzzy for the sky. And I'm just kind of pulling some of that out. Okay, so the first thing is pulling this dragon back. Okay, we'll get in there for the trees, and I'm just gonna kind of hide up what you've got going on here. Let's add some of that color in there. Let's add some of this color here just to kind of hide out some of that, and that, and that. So just make sure I've got everything out of here. Okay, so first thing I do is I paint out that dragon, and it's okay if the wing goes off. It's okay if that kind of dissipates over there. Let me just add some of this over here too. Okay, so we get rid of this, we get rid of this, and let's kind of hide out this. Okay, so we've turned around the dragon. Now the dragon is facing these spires, if you will, and you want a relationship between the spire and the dragon, because if you look at your original composition, the dragon and this seem to be interacting. So what I would tell you to do is figure out what composition you want to go with. You know, right now this dragon wing is, I'm going to just take this wing off, and we're just going to grab this as a wing, and we're going to cut that out. And I'm not going to delete it yet, just in case, and I'm just going to grab this, and we're going to start off with, go with a hard brush here. So I'm going to grab this and pull my wing up over here, and then we're going to use this color to pull the wing back. So you can see now, and we can darken some of the tips here. You can see now how this wing feels a little bit more interesting now. It has a little bit more depth to it, and then we can even add some of this to kind of show that the wing is curving around. All right, so you can highlight that up, and the flame on the dragon, just, it doesn't feel like it's part of the storyline, like it, unless you interact the flame with something else. So, you know, right now it's on his nest, and you want to figure out that composition. I mean, right now I'm not feeling these spires. The spires just take up, you know, it's too much counterbalance between the two. So if you look at these, the counterbalance is, and actually I'm just going to go back to your original. If you look at this, the counterbalance is this over here and this over here. And I'm fighting the two lights and darks, and it's pulling me in the middle, and I'm not really wanting to look at anything. So you want to figure out how to balance the reverse of this, and we're just going to take not that wing off, and you want to figure out how to balance the this So what I would tell you to do, and this is my thought process behind it, I would elongate this larger. So just make it big, um, something like that, and then you've got the flame of the dragon coming here. So let's kind of bring this, so on and so forth. And let's add some of that. Oh, let's add some of that. And now we'll pure white in the center here. And as you can see, I'm just roughing this in. So it's just my initial concept. But then I'm going to grab some of these colors here and start by flowing the white so that you can say that there's an interaction in here. And you can see that is like he's doing something now. He's interacting. And you can probably even go into here and let's kind of erase some of this so that it shows. And grab some of that, and now he's heating this up, and it's causing lightning spires. So maybe it's a chain reaction. Now it's an interaction between the two. That something's working together. It's maybe it's feeding the natural springs. Maybe something's going on, but now I have an interaction between the two. And so with the interaction between the two, I've got something that gives me a little bit more of the story. Right now, what's happening is your story is disappearing because of your story's disappearing because of the dragon's not interacting with anything. The dragon's not, it's pointing off screen, and it's facing in a different direction, and it just doesn't feel like there's that story there. And so between these two, you've got this one here where the dragon's facing away, and this is just kind of like a secondary thought. Whereas then you switch it around, and you've got this here now where the dragon's now selling a different idea. And then again, changing that perspective is, we can actually change the perspective by adding some of the landscape to the river. So by breaking up that river passage like this, let's get rid of some of that. So by breaking up that river passage, now you get more of an idea of how, like the landscape is coming together. So you want to take that perspective. You want to interact the dragon with the spire. Because now if you look at this composition, and if you can tweak some of this stuff here just a little bit. So like we grab this, and this is showing the lighting, but we arc that out a little bit even here, like so. Now between this, you've got almost a figure eight style composition. This dragon is pushing down here. The spiral is going up, but this little spike is pulling us back into the story. And what I would do to kind of adjust that composition is I would actually grab this here and I would bring this up. Let's just see if we can warp it a little bit. And then now with this, now the composition holds true. As you can see, it's spiraling it around. It's keeping me into the scene, but yet it's much more interesting. You know, maybe instead of putting the egg down there, maybe what you want to do is instead put a couple of the eggs back over here. So maybe we're going to grab this egg here, and let's plant this. Okay, so by planting this dragon now, or the dragon egg here, now we've got a sense of, let's shade some of that out. Okay, now you've got a sense of, this is, you know, the dragon's a mother, and she's using this to heat her pirate, you know, and so it's basically a hatchery now. And so again, you know, this tells more of the story that I think you're looking for. All right, I hope that helps. If you like it, subscribe.